My daughter's new piano teacher seemed perfect until she asked on day 2, does your mom ever leave you alone here? I signed Lily up for piano lessons because she'd been begging me for 2 years. Every time a song came on the radio, she'd tap along on the car window. Finally, in September, I found someone local. Ms. Carver, late 30s, good reviews online, a recital video on her website where her students looked genuinely happy. The first lesson was at our house. I bought a second-hand upright Yamaha and set it up in the living room. Ms. Carver came in, shook my hand, and got straight to work. Lily took to her immediately. An hour went by in 20 minutes. When she left, Lily was already asking when she was coming back. The second lesson was the following Tuesday. I was in the kitchen making lunch while they worked in the living room. I could hear Scales, Lily giggling when she hit a wrong note. Ms. Carver's voice calm and encouraging. Around the 40-minute mark, it went quiet. Not silent, but lower, murmuring. I put down the knife and walked toward the hallway. I stopped just outside the doorway. Ms. Carver's voice, soft and easy, like she was asking what Lily wanted for lunch. Does your mom ever leave you alone here? Like, does she go run errands while you practice? Lily said, sometimes. She goes to the grocery store and stuff. I stepped into the room. Ms. Carver looked up at me and smiled. Not startled, just smiled. Oh, we were just chatting between exercises. Lily's doing so well. I nodded and said I needed to borrow Lily for a second, help set the table. We walked to the kitchen and I crouched down. I told Lily I was going to be in the living room from now on for the whole lesson, every lesson. Lily shrugged and said okay. I went back in and sat in the armchair in the corner with my phone. Ms. Carver finished the lesson without mentioning the conversation again. When she left, I walked her out and said we'd see her next week. Then I sat at the kitchen table for a long time. I thought about how she'd asked the question, not casually dropped in, specifically asked, drilling down. She'd already learned Lily's mom existed. She was mapping out when Lily would be alone. I called my wife at work and told her. She said she was sure there was an innocent explanation. Maybe she was just making conversation. Maybe she wanted to give Lily independent practice assignments. But she said it quietly, like she was trying to convince herself. That night, I went back through Ms. Carver's website more carefully. The recital video, the testimonials, a page with her photo and a short bio. I ran her name alongside the county name. I almost didn't scroll far enough. A local news article from 3 years ago. A woman matching her name had been investigated for inappropriate contact with a minor, a 9-year-old student. Charges weren't filed. The story was small and buried, but it was there. I didn't sleep much. I called the police the next morning and talked to a detective in the Crimes Against Children unit. She asked me to send the article and the name. She said someone would look into it. Then she told me not to cancel the lesson yet. She said they'd been looking for this woman under a different last name for 8 months. The following Tuesday, I set up my phone propped behind a stack of books on the shelf, recording. I sat in the armchair again. About 30 minutes in, Ms. Carver told Lily she had a small notebook in her bag she wanted to give her, something to track her practice at home. She pulled it out and said, maybe we could set up a little schedule for when you practice alone. What days is your dad usually out? The detective had told me exactly what to do if she made another approach. I stood up, said I needed to use the bathroom, and sent the text we'd agreed on. I came back and sat down. Ms. Carver kept going with the lesson, perfectly calm. 6 minutes later, the doorbell rang. I answered it. 2 detectives in plain clothes. One of them asked if Miss Carver was here. I said yes and stepped aside. When she saw them, she stood up slowly, hands still on the piano keys. Miss Carver, one of them said, or would you prefer we use the name on your previous teaching license? She didn't answer. Just looked at the door, then at me, then at the door again. Lily was sitting on the bench, staring. I walked over and put my hand on her shoulder and moved her toward the hallway. But before we turned the corner, I heard the click of handcuffs and one of the detectives say the name quietly. The name she'd been using before she moved here and changed it. Lily looked up at me and asked if Miss Carver was in trouble. I said, yeah, she is.